In this tutorial I want to show you some movement options to create the angles of the traced triangles, the one-arm triangles as well as the arm-to-arm triangles. I will focus just on this first open angle of the triangles, but at least some of this stuff you can also use for the second angle of these traced triangles. In my tutorials on the traced triangles I only focus on the handle hand, and to keep it simple I only gave you the following options to enter these triangles, and that was flipping the whip over, under and over in a forwards motion like this, flipping the whip over the arm in a backwards motion like this, tracing over the opposite elbow and tracing under the opposite elbow. There are a few other options you have, and some of these I want to show you in this tutorial. Again, I start with the handle here on the sofa side. One of the options you already know is this tracing with the handle over or under the opposite elbow, and you can do the exact same thing with the fiber end. So take your whip like this, and you just trace with a fiber bundle over the opposite elbow, and then you get to this open angle where the line from this free floating anchor point, as I like to call this, goes under the armpit. Same thing for the other hand, just go with your fiber bundle over the opposite elbow, and you get into this angle, the line from the free floating anchor point going under the armpit. If you do it the other way around, so you take your fibers and go under the arm, you get to the open angle where the line from the free floating anchor point goes over the arm. And of course, same thing with the other hand, so trace under the opposite arm and get to this angle from the free floating anchor point over the arm. The other option I want to show you with 3 subforms is what I call tucking the elbow in, and it looks like this, or the other direction, like this. Again, I start here on the sofa side. So as an alternative to flicking the whip around in this forward motion, you can tuck the elbow in like this. So instead of doing this movement, you come around here. And therefore you twist your wrist around a little, so your fingers coming up here to your body. Then your elbow comes through between your body and your whip, goes over the whip, and then you can tuck in and create this angle. Once again, I'm trying to show a little bit from the side. So you twist your wrist around, your elbow comes up between your body and your whip and goes down like this. Same thing with the other hand. So twisting your wrist a little, elbow going down, coming up between your whip and your body, going out like this. Once again here, twisting your wrist, elbow going down, coming up between, and there you tuck it. The other direction, there the wrist twists around a little backwards, so your fingers move like this. Your elbow comes up from underneath in front of the whip, and there's a little bit of this tracing with the fibers around the arm involved here, so you make sure that your fibers are here at your biceps, and then your elbow comes around, tucks in like this. And then you are in this angle where the line from this free floating anchor point goes over the arm. Once again, so you turn your handle a little, the elbow comes around from the outside, make sure your fibers are here at your bicep, and then you tuck out like this. Again, this for the other hand. So the wrist turns like this, the elbow comes up from underneath in front of your whip, up in front of your whip, and then tucking in here. Once again here. So turning your wrist, the elbow coming up from underneath in front of the whip, and then tucking in here between your whip and the other one, like so. By the way, how I try to describe this movement, you may have noticed it's a rather complex movement, a lot of details are going on, and if you focus on specific of these details and exaggerate them, that's how you can create the subforms, which are basically the same move, but look a little bit different, and you can use them for different performance styles. I start with a form that creates this angle where the line from the free-floating anchor point goes under the armpit. And the first subform is a little bit like serving a cup of tea. Therefore, you focus very much on your wrist movement. So you twist your wrist around, your fingers coming up here towards your body, and you have your handle just lying on your palm in your open hand. And then you move your hand in a horizontal movement over the fibers to here. You can stretch your arm even, and the other hand makes sure that the fibers are touching your biceps. And from here you can just fold down to create the vertical line of this open angle. So once again, from here, twist your wrist around until you have your handle just lying in your open palm, and go over the fibers out to there and fold down. The second one is a little bit like chopping wood. It looks like this. And there you focus on the vertical movement and on your elbow. So you start here, and it's just the elbow going down between your body and your whip. And if you have a ball bearing, the fibers will twist on their own. So you come up here, and when you're at this point, the other hand again makes sure that the fibers are here touching your tricep, and then you just go back with your elbow down in a vertical movement out like this. Once again, so you start here, the elbow is going down, coming up between your whip and your body, going over the fibers and chopping back like this. And the third form is again a horizontal movement, like stirring a soup or milling with a coffee mill. Therefore you hold your whip like this, your handle just vertical, thumb up, and then you move your handle here over the opposite arm in a horizontal circling movement until you get to here. The fibers touch your tricep, a little bit on, and just drop the handle. Once again, you're here, vertical handle, thumb up, and in a circling movement you go here between your body and your whip over the opposite arm, like this, and just drop your handle. All the same for the other hand, starting with serving a cup of tea. So you twist your wrist around to here, palm facing up, but your hand is just lying on your flat hand, and then you move your hand over the fibers in a horizontal movement to here. You can stretch your arm, the other hand makes sure that the fibers are touching your tricep, and then you just fold down to create the vertical line. Once again, twisting your wrist, going over the fibers to here, and folding down. The second one was this chopping wood, so this one, and there you focus on the elbow. The elbow goes down between your body and your whip, comes up, the other hand makes sure that the fibers are touching your tricep, and then you chop back again in a vertical movement. Once again, come up. Start from here, elbow going down, coming up here, chopping out. And the third one was stirring a soup or milling with a coffee mill. There you have your handle in a vertical position, thumb up, and in a circling motion, you go here over the opposite arm to there, and then drop the handle like this. Once again, start here and circle around like this to here. That's the one form of the angle, and you had all the same options for the other angle, starting again here. The other one was flipping your whip in a backwards motion, so you have this open angle that goes from the free floating anchor point over the arm. And for serving a cup of tea, you twist your wrist in the opposite direction first, so moving your fingers back like this. And there the other hand is a little bit more involved to make sure that the fibers are touching your arm here. Then you move around and come down here. Once again. So moving your hand back in a horizontal line here in between and going down. The second one was chopping wood, and this time the elbow goes down outside of the whip. It comes up, the other hand goes a little bit further out to make space for the elbow to chop through. So here, and then chop back. Once again, this time you start from here outside the fibers to here, and then chop back like this. And the third one was stirring a soup or milling with a coffee mill. Once again, you have the handle in the vertical position, thumb up. And this time you circle from the outside around, coming through here, and then going down. Once again, from here, in a circling motion around, oops, like this. All the same for the other hand. Serving the tea, your hand goes like this until your palms facing upward. The other hand makes sure the fibers are touching the arm here and are really going around the arm. So you keep the tension here, and then you're circling like this, and here you go down. Once again. So in this motion, up until the palms facing upwards, and then coming in here and going down. Chopping wood, this time from the outside, so the elbow is going down here outside the fibers. The other hand goes a little bit out that the elbow can pass through here, and then you're chopping back like this. Once again, coming up here, and then chopping back like this. And the third one was stirring the soup or milling with a coffee mill. Handle is vertical, thumb up, and you circle from the outside over the opposite arm, and then drop the handle. Once again, this one, from here, circling around to here, dropping down. And that's it. These are a few other movement options to create the angles of the traced triangles. As I said in the beginning, you can use them for the first open angle for the triangles, but you can also use them for the second angle of the arm-to-arm triangles. And there are all kinds of options to mix them up, so just play with it and explore it and see what you come up with.